Okay, so I'm Erika Heidi. Nice to meet you all. And I live in Amsterdam, actually, but I came sometimes to the office and we decided to do a PHP meetup. Why not? So yeah, here I am today. So by the way, this is the elephant from Amsterdam PHP. Probably you know Rafael Doms. Anyways, let's get started. So before going ahead, a little disclaimer. So I am not a core developer. I am not involved with PHP internals in any way. But I am a regular PHP developer and I'm super excited about PHP 7 because there are some awesome new things. And so this talk is for the everyday PHP developer and why you should care about PHP 7 and why you should care about updating as soon as possible. TLDR, PHP 7 is awesome, but yeah, let's see. You will see. But wait, what happened with PHP 6? In case you are wondering. To make it short, PHP 6 was a thing, but it didn't work very well. They made some bad decisions, and basically people kind of abandoned the project and it died. So in order to avoid confusion with this thing, they decided it was voted and PHP 7 was chosen because then it would avoid confusion, because some people even published books. If you search for PHP 6 on Google, you find there's a lot of books published. It never exists. Yeah, I know. So yeah, let's go. Let's go ahead. So why updating? Why you should care about updating? Well, the same thing for every other software, blah, 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 boring. But your code will run twice as fast. So yeah, this is true. This is just a WordPress benchmark and just one example of a popular thing that everybody runs, WordPress. And this is the number of requests per second that each version of PHP, including also HHVM, can handle. So you can see that on PHP 5.6, PHP 5.6 can handle 262 requests per second in a WordPress website, and PHP 7 can run 545, so it's more than double. So yeah, like your code will be able to run twice as fast. And this is just one example. You can have a look at this link. I will share the slides afterwards. You can have a look. But this link is for some slides from Rasmus Lerdoff. So he presented this talk some places in PHP Australia. And he has a lot of different benchmarks on popular CMSs and frameworks. And then you can have a look. It's really, really fast. So what that means in practical terms is that most probably PHP 7 will have a quick adoption rate because everybody, of course, will want to have your legacy code, including like legacy applications, running on the same server twice as fast. Why not, right? So it's very important to know how to update, what can go wrong and everything. So yeah, so now that I got your attention, we need to talk about what can go wrong. We need to talk what can possibly go wrong because, yeah, bad things can happen when we deal with legacy applications, right? So PHP 7 introduces a few backward compatibility breaks. So let's talk about this. This is a summary of the most, the things that can really bring you trouble, let's say, in legacy applications. So in a summary, these are the most important things. Deprecated items removed. There are a lot of things that were removed. We have some also uniform variable syntax and some path aware on multiple. Let's talk about each one. Okay, wait a minute. Let's talk about each one. So these really old tags that are deprecated for some time were removed. But yeah, like you are probably not using these anymore, right? I hope so. To be honest, I never saw this one any time in my life, and I've been working with PHP for more than 10 years, and I never saw any code using this. But yeah, maybe, I don't know. So yeah, this was completely removed and it's not recognized anymore. Now we have something that can actually be a problem. I have code using this live today. So yeah, the ereg functions were removed. The ereg extension was removed, and then all these ereg functions you cannot use anymore. They are deprecated since 5.3. So yeah, you should not be using it anyways. So for a migration, you can just replace them for the PCRIE extension. So the PREG functions can be replaced, and yeah, you'll be good. Another one that's probably going to be a headache for a lot of people is the MySQL extension. This one is deprecated since PHP 5.5, so it's not a long time ago. And the problem with the MySQL extension is that it's all the books, all kind of old books, not very new books. It's a lot of places. It tells you, it teaches you to use this extension, the MySQL functions, right? And yeah, I have multiple applications using this extension to date. But fear not, you'll be good. You just need to change for the MySQLi extension. And the reason why this extension, if you are asking yourself, was deprecated is because it's kind of lost in the past. So the MySQLi has a lot of other features, better implemented, it's better code, and that's why the MySQL original extension was deprecated and removed. So yeah. So there are other things that were removed. I couldn't find a comprehensive and straightforward list of all the functions that were removed, like split was removed, and I didn't find this in any RFC, like written explicitly, that was removed. So some things that were deprecated might not be there anymore, so you have to keep an eye for that, all right? But yeah, like for this kind of stuff, you can have a look at your logs and see if there are some warnings for deprecated stuff. And also, you can just test, and I will show you how to test layers, your code on PHP 7, and you'll be able to change everything. Anyways, let's talk about uniform variable syntax. So this is something super good for the language. It brings more consistency because like what we expect when you are reading something like this is that the interpreter will go left to right, right? Like it's like logical for you to think that it goes left to right. But that's not what happens today, actually. So on PHP 5.6, or other versions of PHP up to 5.6, this is interpreted first right and then left. So first, it will be, the property name will be interpreted, and then this will be parsed. Whatever comes from this will be fetched from the person object. So it's not left to right, it's not uniform as all the other stuff, right? So on PHP 7, this is not true anymore. So PHP 7 is uniform and consistent, always left to right. And this was super necessary for other things that were implemented and for more consistency in the future, other things that are important anyways. So now, what this represents in practical terms is, if you have a code like this, which is not good, but if you might have some edge cases like this using variables, this code works on PHP 5.6, but it breaks on PHP 7 because of the order that things are parsed. So I will not explain everything because, yeah, it's code. You can have a look afterwards in the slides, but this can happen, and then your code will, you have a notice. It will not give you a fatal error or something, but then you have null, you won't have anything, so yeah, it will give you some trouble. I hope you are not using this kind of stuff because it's weird and it should not be used anyways, but maybe there is somewhere in your code something like that, some dark area in your code. So yeah, but the good news is that we can do all this now, and we couldn't do this before. We would get a syntax error or this this dude here that is very like funny, and I'm not sure if you, it's been a while that since I got this error, this syntax error, but the first time I remember it was yesterday. It was so funny. I didn't get angry. I got amused because it's so weird. Yeah. And I'm kind of gonna miss it in some ways, but not really. But yeah, at the same time, you know. So yeah, we can do all kinds of nested stuff with callbacks and nested statics and all kind of nested stuff. It's really cool. So yeah, this was uniform variable syntax. Now this is something weird. You might ask yourself, like, why would someone have 2 default clauses in a switch? And yeah, there's no reason for that. That's no use. This code is weird, but the problem is that it doesn't give you any error to date. The problem is that, yeah, you should not use this. There's no use for that. But maybe you did and you didn't notice because you never got a warning before. And then it's a kind of a broke change. This one I found a bit too much for, like, all of a sudden you get a fatal error, never got even a warning before. But yeah, that's how it works now. So yeah, that's it. But you should not do this. It's weird, and it doesn't serve anything. Next thing, engine exceptions. So engine exceptions are super cool because now a lot of fatal errors and recoverable errors are now exceptions. And exceptions are awesome because you can catch them all like Pokemons. And then you can treat them and recover and do something. You can log, you can do whatever you want. And it's super important to make your application more kind of reliable, and you can treat the errors, you can know what happens, you know. So it's great. The thing is that before this change, this is something that is not uncommon to have. Some frameworks use this probably, I'm not sure, but it's not that uncommon. It's that you have the set error handle function, and then you can handle recoverable errors like this. For instance, so what we have here is a function that expects an array object, and then we pass a string. So this gives a recoverable error. If you don't have this set error handler, it will just throw a recoverable error, fatal. But when you set the error handler, you can handle this. This isn't PHP 5.6 to date. And then what happens is you get something here, you can log the error or something like that. This was like a way to overcome the problem of the difficult on handling errors. It was like faking the exception thing that you could catch. So this, the code is still executed. The code at the end is still executed. So the script is not stopped. And then now, as this thing now is an exception, so you are not calling the catching the exception. So what happens is that you get a fatal error. So this is something that can break your application if you use set error handler. But then you can easily fix this by wrapping your stuff on a try-catch block, because now it's just an exception. So that's how you fix it. So another thing to keep in mind is that now we have a new exception hierarchy. And this was done in order to avoid messing too much with legacy code. Because if everything was coming before, to date, PHP 5.6, everything comes from the class exception. So if the engine errors would come also from this class, children from this class, then your code will, like, we all have like some pieces of code using a catch-all, right? Catching the exception. And then this will also catch everything. You catch also the engine errors. And this is not supposed to be the same way, treated in the same way. Because the errors, the engine errors, like type error, parse error, this other stuff, they are serious errors. You can treat them now, you can catch them, but it's not something, it's something that you need to take care of. It's not something that you can continue execution just, you know. It's something, now with the exceptions, you can handle these errors gracefully, but still, it's not something just trivial. It's a serious error. So now everything is, comes from the throwable interface. So we have a throwable interface, and then we have exception, and we have error. So error was created, this difference was created to make a difference, exactly, between exceptions, kind of simple exceptions, and actual errors, what was error before. So you cannot implement the throwable interface directly, but you can extend from exception or error. And yeah, so the new catch-all is throwable now. And you have to keep that in mind if you want to use this kind of stuff. Of course, it is recommended that you treat them separated and not use the catch-all and go more specifically to treat the errors the way that it should be treated. Anyways, that's kind of about it. There might be some other edge cases, very specific ones, involving the new features that can break your application, but those were the most common, the things that could bring you more problems. And now let's talk about the fun part, the new features. So I selected a few of the new features, not all, because there's a lot of stuff. And then I selected 5 things, including anonymous classes. And so let's see on each of them. So yeah, this is like the things that I find more exciting for the everyday developer. The combined comparison operator, or spaceship operator. Everybody will call it spaceship operator, of course, because it's easier and it's funnier. So yeah. So it's basically a shortcut for doing all this. So you have now, what it does is, if you do a comparison between B and C, and it will return -1 if B is lower than C, it will return 0 if B equals C, and it will return 1 if C is greater than B. Okay? So basically, it's a shortcut for this. And it is useful for doing ordering and stuff like that, basically. So this is cool, but this is much cooler. The new coalesce, some also called if setter by other languages, I think. It is a super useful shortcut for a conditional set, let's say. So this is something that probably you did before and everybody does because it's very common. Sometimes you need to set a value, need to check before if the variable is set, if there is a value here or not. And then only if the variable is set, all right, you can set the value or set a default value. Anyways, so this is the same as this. Cool, right? I love this. I will be using this a lot. So the next thing is Scalar type hints. Anyways, so this was probably the most debated new feature ever, and I remember people going crazy on Twitter and...
It's primitive type.
Huh?
Primitive type, right?
Yeah, and we call it Scalar type hints. That's how we call it, at least, I guess. Primitive, probably the same, yeah. So, yeah, we didn't have this before. And it was something that everybody wanted, but I have the impression that, like, everybody wanted, but nobody knew exactly how it should work in practice. It was a bit confusing because at one side, people, we wanted a feature, but we don't want to change how PHP works nowadays, like, you know, the dynamic typing and stuff. It would break a lot of stuff if it was, like, really strict. So what happens is that by default, Scalar type hints are not strict. So what happens here is simply it will coerce, it will convert the value. So in here, our function here expects an integer. And then we are passing a string. So what happens is just like the regular PHP behavior, it will convert the string to integer inside the function. And then the output will be as expected, an integer. So the output will be integer because the calculation will be, return an integer, will result an integer. If you want to enable strict mode and make sure that only integers are passed to the value, to the double function, then you can enable strict modes. And then for doing that, you just need to declare the strict types 1 here, set it to 1, and it needs to be the first thing in the script. So when you do that, you cannot pass this string anymore because it will have a fatal error because it's a string and the function explicitly wants an integer. So this will work like a typed programming language. It will turn PHP into a typed programming language per se. So you get a fatal error. And it's important to keep in mind that this is only valid for the current script. So it doesn't matter if you include other files from this file. It is only valid for this script. Okay? So you don't need to worry that it will break everything or all your application. Yes?
And there's no throwable error if you have to put strict types.
You don't get an error, no. It will convert for something, you know. Even if you pass something crazy here, it will try to convert. Maybe you get a completely weird value there, but it would not give an error. And in this case, it will give an error. So return type hints. Now we are talking about the return types. Okay, so return types, this is the way they implemented it. Some people don't like it, but yeah. Because if you compare with C or other programming languages, the value usually, the return type is in first, before the function. But this will cause some other problems. So they did like this, and it's okay. I like it. It's okay. So what happens here, return type hints work in the similar way as scalar type hints. So what happens is that it will convert the value. In here, I explicitly told that I want a bool as a return, but I am returning an integer. 1 is not true. Actually, yeah, it depends on how you see it. But yeah, it's an integer. But then, I'm not using a strict mode, it will only convert to true. So this can have some weird behavior sometimes, maybe, wherever. But yeah, this is how it works by default. But if you want to, again, to enable a strict mode, then you get a fatal error because you are returning an integer and I wanted a bool. It was defined as a bool. Imagine that you are implementing an interface and then it's supposed to return a bool and then you return an integer and then you get this error. But only if you enable strict types, okay? So that was return type hints. And now, something cool, anonymous classes. And this guy here was one of the co-authors of anonymous classes. And yeah, Phil. Thanks, Phil. This is cool. And anonymous classes are similar to anonymous functions. I hope I talk right. I say the right things because he's right here. Whatever. So they are super useful for I like to see it as disposable classes. Sometimes you don't need to create a whole new file, namespace, and autoload, and everything, all this overload, just for a super small thing and disposable thing that we are just going to use one time. So you can simply create something like that. And it works just really like regular classes, just they don't have a name defined by the user, by the developer, actually. So this is some simple examples. This is a simple example. So here is another, it's a contrib, it's not like working, it's just an example, okay? For instance, a Silex application and you want to create a service provider and then it's something very simple and then you don't want to create a whole class and everything, you could do something like that. And Also, if you want to override a method in a class, just one method, and then you can do something like that, like this other example here. You can extend, you can implement, you can do all sorts of things. And it's basically a real class, but disposable. All right? So yeah, there was anonymous classes. And what now? So check the PHP 7 timeline to check to see like when the things are coming out. Right now we are, if I'm not mistaken, in the second beta. And a release candidate, I think it's going to come mid-October, mid-September, I don't know, yeah, around that, I'm not sure. Before the end of the year, we should have a version, an actual release. But now, what you can do now is you can check all the changes and new features in this other link that you have access when you get these slides. And also try this. This is something new that I saw today, someone tweeting about it, and it's cool. It seems cool. I didn't test it, but there is this PHP 7 compatibility checker, and then you can check your code to see if it's compatible. It's not like 100% covering 100% of this new stuff, but it's already checking for a lot of new stuff, and it's good to test. And this is the most important one, in my opinion. Test your application, your current application, PHP 7, using this Vagrant VM. So Rasmus created this Vagrant VM, and it's super cool and easy to use. You just need to clone the repository and run Vagrant app, and you can change the versions inside the machine. If you want to go from PHP 5.3 to PHP 7, you can do this inside, and also update the box easily. He created a box for that, and it's super cool. So you should really try that. And if you find any errors, and then you should open a ticket or something, go to the issue tracker and comment there, because right now the releases are subject to quality, and they are trying to fix bugs and everything. And the sooner they got out that the bugs get found, the sooner we will have a stable release. So that's important. And thank you. You can find these slides here. They are online in this link. And yeah, if you want to ask something, you can ask me, you can ask Phil, because he knows more about interns than me. Also, and yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much.